So in this video, we will learn how to create certificate on Google Form submission and send via Gmail. So guys, we can basically automate the complete process of getting the Google Form submission, creating certificate on them and sending those certificates on email. So the trigger of this automation will be form submission in Google Form. So whenever we will receive a new form submission in Google Form, we will check the data that the user who has submitted the form is present in our database or not. If the user is present, then we will just send a simple thank you mail to them, and if not, then we will create a certificate from Google Slides, and after that we will send the same certificate to the user via email using Gmail. So how you can completely automate this process? To know this, you have to come with me to my screen.
So first, we will go to our browser and search for pabbly.com/connect. And after reaching to the landing page of Pabbly Connect, by clicking on sign up free, you can create your free Pabbly Connect account in just 2 minutes. Or if you already have an account, just click on sign in. So I'll sign in from here. Just click on sign in. And after clicking on sign in, we will reach to this all apps page. Here, just click on access now below Pabbly Connect. And now we can see that we have reached to the dashboard of Pabbly Connect. After reaching this dashboard, click on Create Workflow and give this workflow a name. For example, I would like to name my workflow as Google Forms to Google Slides to Gmail. And click on Create. You can basically give any name of your choice to your workflow. So now we can see that a workflow is open over here. And in this workflow, we have two different windows. First one is trigger window, second one is action window. So triggers and actions are basically those two concepts, those two principles on which this whole automation works on, where the trigger says when this happens and the action says do this. So let's begin with the trigger window. So the idea here is, first, we have to get the details or the data of Google Form submission in Pabbly Connect. After getting the form submission data, we will check that the user who has submitted the form is a new user, or do we already have the details of the same user or created and sent the certificate to the same user earlier as well. So we have the list of all the users who have submitted the form into another Google Sheet. So we will check that the user who has submitted the form has their name and email address in this sheet or not. And if they have, then we will send a different kind of email that we have already sent the certificate and check the previous mail. And if the user is a fresh user, which means the details of the user are not present in this sheet of ours, then guys, we will generate a certificate using Google Slide template, which we have created, and then we will send that same certificate to the user who has submitted the form via email. So let's begin with the process, and here in trigger window, to set up this automation, in choose app, we have to search for Google Forms. Google Forms it is. After selecting Google Forms in trigger event, we have to select new response received. And after selecting our trigger event, Pabbly Connect gave us a webhook URL. Now we will use this webhook URL to make the connection between Google Form and Pabbly Connect. And how we are going to do it, you can refer to the help text given below over here. So just copy this webhook URL from here. And after that, go to the form which you have created in Google Form. So this is the form. So after reaching to this form, go to the questions tab, just scroll down and come to the last question which we ask. And we have to basically turn this required button on. We have to switch it on, turn it to the right side and make the last question of our form as required. This is a very important and necessary step, guys. And after that, you will notice that here we are in the questions tab of Google Forms. After that, on the right side, click on responses and come to responses tab. And at this tab, we can find a small icon of Google Spreadsheet. Here it is, just hover on it and click on Create Spreadsheet. Then in a dialog box, it is asking us select response destination. We will select Create a new spreadsheet and click on Create. As we click on Create, guys, in a new tab, a Google Spreadsheet opens up. And in this spreadsheet, this is the same spreadsheet in which all the details of our Google Form submissions are stored. So basically, we will be sending the Google Form submission data from this spreadsheet to Pabbly Connect. How we are going to do so? Just go to the extension section in the spreadsheet, and after that, go to add-ons and click on Get Add-ons. Now as we click on Get Add-ons, we will reach to the Google Workspace Marketplace. And here in Search app, we have to search for Pabbly Connect Webhooks. Pabbly, Pabbly Connect Webhooks. Now you can see that Pabbly Connect Webhooks, this add-on is already installed in my Google Sheet. So you just have to install this same add-on into your own Google Sheet, and after that just refresh your Google Sheet once. This is a very important step. And after refreshing our Google Sheet, once again go to extensions and you can see Pabbly Connect Webhooks. This add-on can be seen over here. Just hover on it and click on Initial Setup. After clicking on Initial Setup, a dialog box appears in front of us and it asks us three things. Select Sheet, Webhook URL and Trigger Column. So as you can see in this spreadsheet, I have only one sheet named as Form Responses 1. So by default, it has selected the same sheet. Then it is asking us for the webhook URL. So here in webhook URL section, we have to paste the same webhook URL which we have copied from Pabbly Connect. So go to Pabbly Connect, copy the webhook URL and paste it over here. And at last, it is asking us for the trigger column. Now here you must be thinking, what is this trigger column? So trigger column is basically the last data entry column of our Google Sheet. So for example, in the background, you can see that column E will be the trigger column of this spreadsheet because it is the last data entry column of my spreadsheet. After column E, I don't have any kind of data in any column. So according to your spreadsheet, E, F, G, H, I, any column could be your trigger column. Just make sure that that is the last data entry column of your spreadsheet. So I will enter my trigger column and after that, just click on Submit. Now guys, we have successfully connected our Google Sheet or basically Google Forms with Pabbly Connect. After that, just once again go to Extensions, Pabbly Connect Webhooks and select Send On Event over here. So by selecting Send On Event, we are telling this Google Sheet that as and when we get a new form submission data in Google Forms or we get the new form submission data in this Google Sheet, instantly send that same data to Pabbly Connect. Now the connection is complete. Now we will go back to our Google form and open this form in preview mode. And we will make a test form submission over here. So we'll enter the details of a dummy user, for example, dummy name, a dummy email address, and a dummy mobile number as well. And let's click on Submit. So just now we have made a form submission in the form which we have created using Google Form. So the form submission is complete. After making the form submission, now because we have connected this Google Form with Pabbly Connect, we will see that this same form submission data we will capture inside Pabbly Connect as well. So we'll come to a Pabbly Connect workflow and here in the response received, we can see all the details. We have the very same first name, same last name, same email and same mobile number. Which means guys, the step 1 of setting up this automation is now successfully completed. We have successfully connected our Google Form with Pabbly Connect and received the Google Form submission data in Pabbly Connect. Now after receiving this data, receiving the details from the user, we have to basically check whether the user who has submitted the form is already added or is already present in our database in our Google Sheet or not. So we have to basically check that whether this user is we already have the details of this user in this particular spreadsheet named as user data which I have created. Now to do so, we'll just scroll down, come back to our workflow. We'll just scroll down and click on this Actions tab. And here in Choose app, we will search for Google Sheets. Google Sheets it is. And after selecting Google Sheet, in Action Event from the drop down, we have to select Lookup Spreadsheet Row. Just select this action event and then click on Connect and select Add New Connection. Now here guys, we have to connect our Google Sheets account with Pabbly Connect. So just click on Connect with Google Sheets, select your Google Sheets account from here and after selecting the account, just scroll down and click on Continue. And now we can see that our Google Sheets account will be successfully connected with Pabbly Connect. After making this connection, we will just scroll down and the first thing which Pabbly Connect asks us is the select spreadsheet. And in the drop down below, we can see a list of all the spreadsheets which we have created in our Google Sheets account can be seen over here. So out of all the spreadsheet in which we want to search for data is named as user data in my Google Sheets account. So I want to check whether the user who has submitted the form has their details in this spreadsheet or not. If they have their details in this spreadsheet, then we will send a separate email with the details like we have already generated the certificate and sent it to you to check the previous email. And if the user who has submitted the form does not have their email address or details in this spreadsheet, then we will basically generate a new certificate using Google Slide, and then we will send the certificate via email to the same user. So user data, we have to basically select this spreadsheet over here from the drop down. So select this spreadsheet. After selecting the spreadsheet, it is asking us to select the sheet. So in this spreadsheet, as you can see, there is only one sheet named as sheet 1. So we will select sheet 1 over here. Then after that, it is asking us for the lookup column. So the lookup column is basically the column in which we are searching for data. So in this spreadsheet, basically we will be using in this video the email address to search for data. So we all know every user uses a unique email address. So using email address, we will search that do we have that same email address entered by the user in form submission in our database in this spreadsheet of ours. And if they have, guys, then we will send a different email. You will automate this workflow in a different route. And if we don't have that email address of the user in our database, then we will use a different route. So the column for email address is column C. So we will select column C over here in this lookup column. Just enter C over here. Then it is asking us lookup value that we told this Google Sheet, we told this action step in Pabbly Connect that we want to search for data in this particular column. But what is the data? What is the value which we are looking for? So we are looking for the email address of the user which we have received from Google Form submission. So we are searching for this email address in this sheet or in this column. So we have to basically map this email address which we have received from Google Form submission from user over here in this lookup value field. And the process of mapping is very simple. Simply click on this field and from the drop down below from the responses of Google Form, select the response of email address and map it. And the data is mapped. We have mapped the lookup value. Now we told in this step that in this spreadsheet, in this sheet, in this particular column, we have to search for this data. If this data exists, we get a different response. If it doesn't exist, then we also get a different response. And on the basis of that response, we will create two branches, two routes in this automation. So let's see what response do we get. So basically demo@pabblytools.com. We basically have this email address in this Google Sheet, which means the user who has submitted the form, the user whose details we have entered in Google Form has their detail in our Google Sheet over here. So let's do this. Let's go to Pabbly Connect. And after that, guys, we will just scroll down and click on Save and Send Test Request over here. Now, after clicking on Save and Send Test Request, we have basically received a response. And in this response, we have the details of all the complete row which we were looking for. So we have selected lookup value as the email address. We had this user in our Google Sheet as we can see. So in the response, we have received the complete data of that user from that row in our Google Sheet. So we have their name, their first name, last name, phone number and email. Now guys, because we have received this data in the response, we know the user who has submitted the form is already exists in our Google Sheet, in our database. Now we will be setting a separate route for that. And after that, we will check for another condition in which if this user does not exist, then what to do. So for that, to add these kind of search routes, to add these kind of search branches in our automation workflow, we will just scroll down and click on this Add Actions tab. And we will use a feature, a module of Pabbly Connect, that is router. So using this router by Pabbly, we will basically create two routes in this automation workflow. One route if the user does not exist, which means if we haven't received these details in Google Sheet lookup value, then what to do. And second route will be if the user exists. Like as we can see now, this user exists. So let's see if the user exists, then what to do. So let's create this route first. So we will just scroll down, come to this router steps. So in route 1, we just click on this set filter and actions tab. And here in filter, in select label from the drop down, we can say responses of Google Forms and Google Sheets both. So from the responses of Google Sheet, we will just scroll down and select the response of row value email. Just select it, and the filter type from the drop down, the filter type will be exist. Which means if the row value of email, if we find the email address of the user in this Google Sheet, if this response exists, then what to do. Which means if the user is already added in our database, then what to do. Then after that, we will click on Save and Send Test Request. After clicking on save and send test request, we have received a response which says the condition is true, which means the filter condition which we have added, which means the condition was if response to row value email exists, which is existing in the response, then the condition is true, and then this automation will be executed with this route. So then what to do? Then if the user is already exist, just click on add action step, and we just want to simply send them an email, and we want to remind them that we have already sent them the certificate in the previous email. So let's do this. So to send the email, we will be using Gmail. So here in choose action step, we will search for Gmail it is. And then in action event from the drop down, select send email. Click on connect and select add new connection and click on connect with Gmail. So guys, just connect your Gmail account using which we will be sending email. So I'll select this Gmail account of mine using which I will be sending email. Just click it and scroll down and click on continue. And as we click on continue, we can see that our Gmail account is now successfully connected with Pabbly Connect. Now, after making the connection, it is asking us recipient email address. So the person to whom we are sending this email address, we have to enter the email address of that very same person. So we have received the email address from Google Form responses. Just click here from the drop down from the responses of Google Form, map the response of email address and map it. Then after that, we will scroll down. It is asking us then sender's name. So what is the name of the sender? So for example, I want this email to be sent by the name of Pabbly. So I've entered the sender's name. Then it is asking us the subject, that what will be the subject line of the email which we are sending. So I'll add the subject line just for an example. Let's take a subject line as certificate already sent. Then it is asking us reply to, so that's not mandatory. Let's ignore it. And then it is asking us email content type. So is it a plain email or an HTML email? So the email which we are sending in this video is a plain email. So let's select it. And then it is asking us for at last the email content, that what is the body, what is the content of the email which we want to send. So I want this email to start as hello, and after hello I wanted to add the name of the person to whom we are sending this email. Now to add the name of the person who has submitted the form in this email after hello, from the drop down from the Google Form responses, we will just select the response of first name and map it. So whatever the user will submit the form, the first name of the user which they have entered in form will come over here after hello. Then I want this email to be okay, so this is the kind of email which I want to send. Hello dummy means the name of the person. We are glad to have you on training with us. Please find your training certificate in previously sent mail. Thank you, regards. So this is just a reminder that the certificate which we have sent is already sent to them, so they can check the previous email. So this is the kind of the message which I want to send if the user who has submitted the form is already exist in our database. So the body of the email is now created. Now after that, after entering the email content, it is asking us file name and attachment. So in this email, we don't want to send any file name and attachment to the user who already exists. So we will just ignore these fields. And one more thing guys, in this email content, I have basically created this simple mail, simple body, but basically you can basically create any kind of email content, email body of your choice. And also you can map any data which you have received from Google Sheet or Google Form in this step. Then after that, just scroll down and click on this save and send test request button. So as you click on save and send test request, we will receive a response over here. And this response seems to be a positive response to us. This response shows that this email with this content is now sent on this email address of the user. So let's check the Gmail account of this user. Let's go to a new tab, go to Gmail. And here we can see that we have received this email. Let's open it. And this email says, hello dummy, we are glad to have you on training with us. Please find your training certificate in the previously sent email. Thank you, regards. Which means guys, the first route of this automation is now successfully created. We have created a route. If the user who has submitted the form exists, then what to do? Let's click on this close button now. And now let's do the major and the second route which we were willing to set up. So here we want to set up a second route that if we don't find the user details of the user who has submitted the form in this step, which means if we don't receive the response of email address, first name, last name, and from Google Sheets lookup table, lookup spreadsheet value, then what to do? For that, we'll come to route 2, just click on set filter and actions tab. And here in this route to in filters tab, in select label from the drop down, select the responses of Google Sheet, select the same response of row value email. And this time the filter type will change. The filter type will be does not exist, which means if the response or the details of the user who has submitted the form does not exist in our database Google Sheet. This is a database Google Sheet of ours. If these details does not exist in our Google Sheet, then what to do? Then take the automation. Then the automation should choose this path, this route. Let's click on save and send test request. And in the test response, because the details of dummy user we have received in this Google Sheet, we have present in this Google Sheet. That's why the condition is false over here in this response, which means our condition is perfectly added. After that, just scroll down and click on this add action step button over here. And just after that, in choose app here, search for Google Slides. So if the user does not exist in our database, we want to basically create a certificate of that user. So we will use Google Slide to create that certificate. After selecting Google Slides in the Actions tab, in Action Event from the drop-down, select Create Presentation from Template and click on Connect. Select Add New Connection, or basically just click on Add New Connection over here and click on Connect with Google Slides. Now here we have to connect our Google Slides account with Pabbly Connect. Now to make this connection, just connect your Google Slides account, scroll down and click on Connect Continue. And now we can see that our Google Slides account is now successfully connected with Pabbly Connect. After making the connection, it is asking us template presentation. So here from the drop down, we have to basically select the template using which we want to create new certificates. So the template which I have created in Google Slide is named as Pabbly Education Academy Certificate Template. So we will select this same template over here from the drop down. Just select the template. And after that, it is asking us title of new presentation. That the new certificate which will be generated using this automation, what will be the name of that new certificate? So I want the name of the new certificate to be a combination of the user's first name and their email address. So I'll just click here. From the responses of Google Form from the drop down, select and map the first name of the person, then add a hyphen, and after that add the email address of the person. So we have just now added like this, we have added the new presentation title. Then it is asking us new presentation location. So that certificates which will be generated from our Google Slides will be stored in the Google Drive of that same account. Now the question arises that in which folder in our Google Drive we want these certificates to be stored. So I want in my Google Drive, I have created a specific folder by the name of new certificates. So I want that all the certificates which we are generating using this automation should be stored in this folder. So from the drop down, we can see a list of all the folders which we have created in Google Drive, and out of all of this, select the folder of your choice. Then it is asking us name and date. So basically in this certificate, you can see I have created two dynamic fields. First one is of name of the person to whom we are giving this certificate, and second one is the date. So to add the dynamic field in your certificate template, just add the text in double curly braces and it is considered as the dynamic field. So we have the dynamic field of name and second dynamic field of date. So guys, basically for every new certificate, the name of the person will be keep on changing. So I have created a dynamic field, a dynamic text for this name of the person. So we can see that both of the dynamic fields which we have created in our certificate template over here in Pabbly Connect. And Pabbly Connect is asking us that what is the text which we want to enter in place of these dynamic fields. So in place of name from the drop down, we will select and map the name of the person who has submitted the form from the Google Form responses. And in place of date, the date won't be dynamic, so I'll just manually enter the date of today's date. For example, 2022. Okay, so the date is static, but the name of the person will keep on changing in our newly generated certificates. So after entering all these details, just click on Save and Send Test Request. Now, as we click on Save and Send Test Request, guys, we will see that we will receive a response over here. And in this response seems to be a positive response to us. This response shows that with all these details, a new certificate using this template is created and it is stored in this folder of our Google Drive. So let's check this folder. We'll go to our Google Drive. And yes guys, just now we saw that this folder was empty, but now we have a new certificate in this Google Drive. And in this certificate, we can see the same name which we have entered while making the form submission in Google Form can be seen over here. We have the same dummy name and same date which we have added in our Pabbly Connect workflow, which means the automation till now is working perfectly fine. So guys, there is a contradiction. Basically, you might get confused that in the previous step, and let me close this. Before adding the router, the first route which we have created was for the user who has whose details we already have in our database, who already exists. So basically, we have the details of the dummy user who already exists. But right now, we are setting up the route. We are setting up the path for the users who does not exist. So basically, then how if this user already exists by the name of dummy name already exists in our database, then why we are using this user's details to generate the certificate and set up the route who does not exist. So because we wanted to add the filter condition, like in route 1, we added the condition is exist, and in route 2, guys, we have basically added the condition does not exist. Now, because we wanted to add these kind of condition, for that we required this response which we have received from Google Sheets. So if we have received the response of the user who does not exist, then we won't have received this label response from Google Sheet. That's why we have used the same user's detail who exists to set up this automation. So after completing this automation will work perfectly fine, because here in route 2 in response we have received the condition as false for the user who already exists. So that's it guys, using Google Slide we have successfully created the certificate. Now we just have to send this certificate to the person as an email who has submitted the form. But we will notice one thing, that the share permission of this newly generated certificate is private to only me. But now if we want to send or share this certificate, we have to change the share permission of the certificate. Now if the certificate count is 1 or 2, we can do it manually. But using this automation, we have to basically change the share permission of every newly generated certificate. For that, to do this with automation, just scroll down and click on this Add Action Step button over here. And here in Choose App, we have to search for Google Drive. Google Drive it is. After selecting Google Drive, an action event from the drop-down, scroll down and select Share a File with Anyone. Now, as we select Share a File with Anyone, just click on Connect and select Add New Connection and click on Connect with Google Drive. Now we have to connect the same account of Google Slides which we have created with Google Drive. We have to select the same account of Google Drive as well of the same account which we have connected with Google Slide, and also for the Gmail. So just now we have connected our Google Drive account with Pabbly Connect. After making the connection, it is asking us file ID. So in the drop down, we can see a list of all the files which we have present in our Google Drive can be seen. But the file ID or the name of the file will be keep on changing for every newly generated certificate. So there is a mapping button in front of file ID, as you can see over here. Just turn it on, clear the default response. And after clearing the default response, we will see that from the Google Slides, after creating a new certificate using template, in the response, we have received the presentation ID. So this is basically a file ID. So we have to map this same file ID over here in this file ID field. And as we all know, the process of mapping is very simple. Simply click on this field and from the responses of Google Slide, select and map the response of presentation ID. After mapping it, just click on Save and Send Test Request. Now, as we click on Save and Send Test Request, the response is showing us that the share permission of this particular file is being changed. So let's check it. We'll get back to our certificate. And yes, guys, here we can see that the share permission of this same certificate was earlier private to only me. But after adding the Google Drive step, it is now automatically changed to anyone with the link, which means now we can share this certificate with our user over email. And also guys, in the Google Drive responses, we have received the PDF link of this same certificate. Let me show you. Just copy this link and from the response, go to a new tab and paste it over here. And here you will find the same certificate is now downloaded. Let me open it. Just give me a second. And we can see this PDF file of the same certificate, which we will be sending to the user who has submitted the form via email. So guys, we have successfully created a new certificate for the new user and also received the PDF file. Now let's send the email. For that, as we have done in the previous step, we have to just click on this add action step button, and we will be using Gmail to send the email. So just select Gmail over here. After selecting Gmail, in action event from the drop down, select send email and click on connect. Select add new connection and click on connect with Gmail. Select your Gmail account. So guys, just ensure that the Google Slide account, Google Drive account and Gmail account should be basically the same. So after that, just click on continue. And that's it. Our Gmail account is once again connected in this route as well. Now here, as we have done in earlier steps, we have to follow the same process. In recipient email, we will enter the email address of the person who has submitted the form. Then after that, in sender's name, I wanted to add the sender's name as Pabbly, so I have done it. The sender's email will be, for example, this time we will get the subject line. The subject line of the email should be, for example, training certificate. So this will be the subject line of the email. Then the email content type will be plain and the email content, basically the body of the email. So the body of the email will be hello. After hello, as we did earlier, we will enter the first name of the person, we will map it. Then the email should be. Okay, so this is the kind of simple email which I want to send with the email file attachment, the certificate attachment. So this is the email content. Then it is asking us file name. So we will be sending the certificate as an attachment with this email. So what is the name of that file? So for example, I'll name the file as training certificate. Training certificate. And after that, it is asking us attachment. So here in attachment, we have to basically map the PDF file link of the certificate. So after changing the file share permission using Google Drive step, in response, as we saw, we have received the PDF link of the same file. So we have to map this same link over here in this attachment field. And as we all know, process of mapping is very simple. From the drop down from the responses of Google Drive, select the response of PDF file link and map it over here. So after mapping this link, just click on save and send test request. After clicking on save and send test request, we can see that we have received a response over here. So this response shows that this file link, this certificate with this email is now sent to this user. So let's check the email account once again of this user. Let's go to a new tab. Let's get back to the inbox. And yes guys, here we can see that we have received an email which says hello dummy, means the name of the person who has submitted the form. It was great to have you as a trainee with us. Please find, the spelling of find is misspelled over here. Let me correct it in this workflow first. Please find. Okay, let's scroll down and click on save. So please find your training certificate attached below. Thank you, regards. And in this email, we have a PDF attachment. Let's open it and we will see the same certificate is now present over here. So guys, we have successfully created this automation using which whenever we will receive a new form submission, if the user is already exist in our database, we will send a different email as a reminder that the certificate is already sent. But if the user is new user, the user who has submitted the form is a fresh user, then guys, we will basically generate a certificate using Google Slides and then we will share the certificate automatically with an email to the same person. So after creating this automation till now, we just have to add one last step. Just click on this add action step button in route 2 and now basically we also have to update the details of the user to whom we have sent the certificate in our database. Now to do so, this is just a simple step. In this action step, just select for Google Sheet, just search for Google Sheets. And after searching for Google Sheets, in the action event from the drop-down, select Add New Row. Click on Connect and select Add New Connection. Click on Connect with Google Sheets, or you can also select your existing connection as well. So after connecting Google Sheets, just scroll down and click on Continue. After clicking on Continue, we can see that our Google Sheets account is now connected. After making this connection, from the drop-down, select User Data as a sheet, select Spreadsheet and select User Data as the spreadsheet. And we all know the sheet is only sheet 1. Then it is asking us for the details like first name, last name, email, phone number. So all the columns which we have created in our spreadsheet, first name, last name, email, phone number, we can see the list of all the columns over here. So one by one, we have to basically map the data of the user which we want to add in these columns. So in place of first name from Google Form responses, select then map the response of first name. In the place of last name from Google Form responses, map the response of last name. Follow the same process for email and phone number as well. This is the mobile number. And after that, just click on Save and Send Test Request. After clicking on Save and Send Test Request, we have received a response over here. So let's check our Google Sheet. And yes, here we can see that this data is updated. Now there is a duplication of data of this user because we have only fired this trigger once. As I told you, to set up this automation, it was necessary to take the details of the user whose data already exists in our Google Sheet. So now guys, this automation is now successfully created. Let's close this route. And now let's understand in brief that what are the steps we followed while setting up this simple automation. So first, we have connected our Google Forms with Pabbly Connect so that we can get the Google Form response, Google Form submission response or data in Pabbly Connect workflow. Then after that, the response which we have received from Google Form, in the next step using Google Sheets action step lookup spreadsheet, we have searched that the user who has submitted the form does already exist in our database or not. So using this response, we can get the details or the response that if the user exists, we'll get their details from this Google Sheet of ours in which we are searching. And if the user does not exist, we won't get these details. And using this response, we have basically added the router. We have created two different routes and added two different conditions. In route 1, if the user who has submitted the form does exist in our database, then we will just simply send them an email that their certificate which we were generating using this form submission is already sent to them, and please check their previous email. So that this was the first route and this was the simple one. But in route 2, if the user whose details does not exist in our database in this Google Sheet of ours in which we were looking for, then we have added a condition: if the response user details does not exist, then send the details to Google Slide using Google Slide in this automation, create a certificate with the template which we have created in Google Slide. Then after creating the certificate, we are using Google Drive. The newly generated certificate was stored in Google Drive. So using Google Drive in this step, we have changed the share permission of the certificate and we have sent this newly generated certificate to the user who has submitted the form using Gmail step as an email. And at last, we also added a step that the user to whom we have sent the certificate, we have added the details of the user to this our user database, so that the next time if the user fills and submits the form, we won't send the certificate, the same certificate, we won't generate and send the same certificate once again to the same user. And that's it, guys. So guys, not just these applications, you can basically connect plenty of other applications using Pabbly Connect. And guys, one more important thing, you will find the clone link of the same workflow in the description box below. By clicking on that link, you can clone the same workflow into your own Pabbly Connect account and use this workflow for free. And also guys, Pabbly Connect comes with a forever free plan. And in this plan, you will get 100 free tasks in your own Pabbly Connect account for free every month. So guys, if you want to try and test this automation workflow into your own Pabbly Connect account, you can basically do it for free.
If you need any kind of help or have any queries, you can ask them on forum.pabbly.com and you can check Pabbly Connect's pricing at this link. So if this video was helpful to you, you can like this video, don't forget to share it with others, and to keep getting such content on automation and integration, you can subscribe to Pabbly. Thank you, have a nice day.